If you're selling to consumers and you have a one-call close rate of less than 50%, then you need this video because I'm about to share with you exactly what I taught my salesperson who closed over $18 million in 19 months at a 92.3% one-call close rate, and he maintained an average close rate of 81.6% over those 19 months. Take a look at it. The data is all right there. No, these are not your favorite sales guru's recommendations. They're going to tell you, oh man, just frame the call as a yes or a no. Tell them that the only thing that's unacceptable at the end of this call is a maybe. I won't take a maybe. I'll only take a yes or a no. And then the prospect at the end of the call is going to say, well, man, I was going to say maybe, but because you told me not to, I'm going to have to say yes. But obviously this is not going to work with your sophisticated buyers, or they're going to say, oh, just make sure you're using permission-based questioning to get out all the pain. But that is not going to ensure you have a one-call close. No, the techniques I'm about to tell you guys are far in advance of those, which is probably why none of those sales gurus can post screenshots showing a 90% conversion rate for 4+ months straight, as I've done here. So the first thing we need to talk about, guys, is what do people actually buy on a sales call? Now, you've heard all kinds of things here. Oh, well, duh, Drew, they buy your product. Nope, not the case. Or maybe you've heard someone say, oh, they buy you. People buy from emotion. That's not quite it either. It's false. You may have heard people say, oh, well, people buy from emotion and then they justify it based on logic. But that's also incomplete. There is one thing that people buy on every sales call, and it is state. State is the most important sale to make. So what is state? Well, it's the state of your nervous system. Are you nervous, excited, anxious when you get on a sales call, or are you calm and confident? Humans have mirror neurons that allow us to feel other people's anxieties, their emotions, even their pain. That's why secondhand embarrassment is even a thing. Mirror neurons mean they feel what you feel, and the strongest nervous system wins. So whomever is in the strongest state on the call is going to win. The weaker state will tend to entrain into the stronger state. They will go into a frequency following mode and be entrained into the stronger state. The call goes to whomever therefore establishes kinesthetic authority. Now, there's two basic states that the nervous system can be in: certain or uncertain. So imagine, maybe you come on a call, you're in your peak state, right? Your personal life is really going well. You're absolutely certain. Your product is amazing. You've just closed a $10,000 deal 20 minutes ago. Your vibes are immaculate. When the prospect comes on the call, no matter what state they're in, from your powerful state, you're going to listen to them without an agenda. You're going to be fully present to what they're saying, meet them where they're at, and be unconcerned about closing the sale. You're going to be non-needy, detached from the outcome. When you do that, you're matching their current state and pacing their current reality, which then is going to give you permission to lead them into a more resourceful state. This is what allows you to entrain them into limbic resonance with your state effortlessly. Consider the following. When you're in anxiety or uncertainty, your prefrontal cortex, which is the most recently evolved part of the brain up here, the decision-making center, literally goes offline. You cannot make clear decisions from that state. A prospect in uncertainty will not buy. The confused mind will not buy. A calm, present state doesn't just invite others, it actually guides their nervous system into a state where it can effectively self-regulate. The mirror neurons have evolved for exactly this purpose, and they are what allows us to entrain others into our example state of being. This is called state contagion or unconscious modeling, and it's the science behind the statement, they feel what you feel. This isn't manipulation, as long as you're trying to do something that's actually beneficial for them. You're rather creating the optimal conditions for them to access their own clarity and make decisions that truly serve them. Now, imagine you come on the call underslept, you missed the gym, your personal life isn't going well, you're running late, you spilled your coffee that morning, and the prospect comes in with a very certain state. But let's say that they've been gathering all the negative reviews on your company, they're highly skeptical, and they're going to do their best to convince you that your product sucks. What do you think might happen in that scenario? Well, what's going to happen for sure is not a one-call close. If you manage to regain your own state, at the very least, it'll be a running battle battle with the prospect, and their stronger nervous system at the start of the call will likely win just in terms of a no sale. They're more likely to sell you on their thesis that your company sucks, and you are likely to sell them on your thesis that your company and product are great. Maybe you'd even start doubting your company or wavering into believing more of their frame. Now, you've heard this called frame battles, but what it really is just the strongest nervous system wins. Again, people don't really buy your ideas. What they're buying is your relationship to those ideas. So this begs the question, how can we make sure we're always in our strongest nervous system on every single call? And that goes back to what caused my guy up above to maintain that 82% conversion rate over 19 months. Well, it becomes really clear that your ability to manage your own state becomes the most important things to master if you want to be a masterful salesperson. So this requires that you learn to, on command, entrain your own nervous system into the maximally resourceful state of immaculate vibe so you can repeatably generate the expert state you want. This allows you to lead them ethically to their most resourceful and clear state. You don't need to sell them your thing, guys. You need them to make a clear decision from their most confident nervous system state. If you have a great product or a good product, a calm, confident nervous system will almost always buy it. If you have a bad product, only a disrupted nervous system will sometimes buy it, and that will be heavily dependent on manipulative tactics. So let's start there. This is the easiest, fastest, and most effective way to anchor yourself into the proper state and trigger yourself into the state at the start of every call. Here's what you're going to do. We're borrowing some techniques from deep therapy background, including Fritz Perls, Virginia Satir, and Milton Erickson. If you want to research those guys, you can go deep on that. This is the process of anchoring, simply a way to remember a time when you were in peak state and anchor that to the present moment by clenching a fist, touching two fingers together, or something similar. You're going to do a body motion to anchor in to the memory of experiencing a peak state. And of course, the mind can't tell the difference between the past and the present. So when you trigger that memory, you're actually bringing that physiological presence back into your body in the present moment. So we're going to do this exercise. Close your mind, pause the video, and spend 30 seconds imagining with all senses in detail the emotions you felt, and then anchor those with a strong physical cue, such as clenching your fist. And then you're going to fire off that anchor before every call when you want to feel calm, confident, and strong. Now that you know how to anchor, let's talk about the ingredients of what I've come to call the one call close state. Here we go. 2 cues for your one call close. Number 1, what would I do if I knew I could not fail? That's a pretty common one. But the second one I like to call the 6-year state, and this is my unique sauce. What would I do if I knew that looking back from now, 6 years into the future, I knew that this call, this decision had set off a chain of events that turned my life in a completely prosperous direction? The best years of my life, 6 years of uninterrupted prosperity, peace, and happiness. What if I knew that today was that day, this phone call was that phone call? How would it change my physiology and my state? Probably you'd experience a lot of feelings of gratitude, joy, abundance, excitement for the future, right? So those are the emotions you want to be experiencing as it happens. Here's your attitude as a result. I'm so confident in what I offer that I only want them to buy if it's genuinely right for them. I don't need this, detached from the outcome. I only want what's best for them, which is detachment from the ego and deep service. A foundation of abundance. My pipeline is full. Opportunities are everywhere. Value certainty. What I offer genuinely transforms lives when it's the right fit. And service orientation. My job is to help them get clarity, not to convince them to buy. Putting it all together, you become someone who can afford to tell the truth, ask the hard questions, and walk away if it's not right. This creates the kinesthetic authority that's necessary to lead people through these tough and scary decision-making moments. And if you want to be the kinesthetic authority, you need to practice everything that's on your screen right now. The one call closed state, you need to create that in your body, mirror that, match it, fire it off, anchor it, and repeatedly fire it off. You need to be practicing this 10 to 20 times per day, like a lot. And then fire it off before every single sales call. Repeat, and you got to put yourself into that one call close before every single sales call. It's going to change your body language, your physiology, your vibe, and most importantly, your relationships to your own ideas that you give them. And that is how you're going to get the strongest state on every sales call. This becomes the greased groove of your nervous system. And when you're doing this 6 to 8 times or maybe 10 to 12 times a day, it truly does become a dominant state that you live in. A lot of other sales gurus are going to tell you, oh, your personal life has to be in good shape in order for you to be good at sales. And that's true insofar as it goes. But I think you're realizing now that what I've just taught you is a much more intricate, nuanced, and detailed map to that really excellent personal life. This goes way beyond just like, oh, make sure you hit the gym, get 8 hours of sleep, drink enough water, right? We're talking about full-on neurological pattern matching and hacking here. So that's the first piece of technology, how to entrain your own state to maximal competency at will. Then the next key piece that I'm going to give you, and that would be enough, but Drew is a generous sales mentor. When your prospect jumps on the call, you're going to start evaluating their state. Is it certain? Is it uncertain? Is it oriented towards you? Is it oriented away from you? Or is it a neutral state? You're going to automatically and naturally entrain them into your dominant nervous system state of calm confidence. And you're going to practice this so much, your nervous system will be stronger than all but 0.01% of nervous systems you're going to encounter on the call. Now, again, as I said, that's probably the most important piece of technology I could give you, but now I'm going to give you more. We are not done. Even with the best vibes and the strongest state, that's not enough. You still need to understand the linguistic architecture and the verbal pattern breaks that will cognitively funnel people from a less resourceful to a more resourceful state where they can make their best decision for themselves. We're going to address the following 2 extremely common scenarios so you can see how all this comes together, all right? Number 1, an unfocused and distracted prospect with high uncertainty. The world is now full of these dopamine-chasing, unregulated, scattered people who are scared, anxious, and afraid, or a confident oppositional prospect who is highly skeptical and confidently wrong, but's going to push back against everything you give them. So here's how to redirect someone with scattered focus into present moment decision-making mode. Yeah, so Mr. Prospect, it's easy to get distracted by a lot of noise in the world today, but I think when you really listen to your inner voice and get quiet and present to the now, you realize there's only one question to answer that determines if you move forward or not. And that's, is this the right decision to take action on? One job at a time and every job a success, as Ben Franklin said. And right now, the good news is there's only one thing you need to think or feel about or hear, and that's just this one question. And now, as you hear the answer from your heart, feel it in your gut, grab and hold it with both hands, and see that vision of that decision, what it will bring you in the future. It's easy enough to see that it was always right there in front of you, wasn't it? And wasn't that easier than trying to solve everything all at once? Here's the breakdown of why this linguistic Penrose staircase creates a devastatingly effective matrix of inescapable logic. First, you have to do a scatter pattern acknowledgement. If someone's very scattered, you have to pace and match their reality. Yeah, it's easy to get distracted by a lot of noise. That validates their current scattered state. Then progressive focus narrowing. When you really listen to that inner voice, it shifts from the external to the internal. Get quiet and present to the now is a temporal and attention compression, and then only one question eliminates decisional paralysis. We're pairing off everything else that they think they have to make a decision on. Then we're doing an authority installation through historical reference. One job at a time, every job a success, as Ben Franklin said. That adds credibility while reinforcing the single focus principle. And then I'm going to add a multi-sensory decision integration here. Here, the answer from your heart is auditory for auditory personalities. Feel it in your gut is kinesthetic. Grab a hold of it with both hands is kinesthetic, and see that vision is visual. Now, if you know whether in the VA system, the visual, auditory, or kinesthetic, if you know your prospect is only visual or primarily visual, you could just go with the visual here, or just the kinesthetic. I just carpet bombed a bunch on top of you because I wanted you to understand and appreciate how decision integration can work. And then temporal inevitability. It was always right there in front of you, makes the decision feel obvious. And after a pause or after they reply, now wasn't that easier than trying to make all the decisions at once? Creates relief and validates the entire process. This is a neurological funnel that takes scattered attention and compresses it into one simple binary decision while making complexity feel unnecessary and stressful and wasteful. This integrates temporal shifts, sensory stacking, authority installation, and focus compression into one seamless flow that feels like wisdom rather than manipulation. So that's how we're going to deal with those scattered people. And again, this is not necessarily going to be a monologue you deliver, but you're going to take this type of structure and you're going to pepper it and weave it throughout the conversation, again, so that it feels like wisdom and it's integrated rather than sounding like some weird social robot hypnosis that you're doing. Now, let's talk about a very common thing that happens, how to shift someone from confidently away orientation into confident in you states. These are those guys that get on the calls. They think they know everything. They're a know-it-all. They're going to challenge every little bit of your approach or your script or your process. Here's how we're going to deal with those guys. Now, first, we're going to need to review and understand how to read states. And here's the state reading matrix. Confident state indicators: breathing, deep, slow, and rhythmic. Posture, upright, shoulders back, grounded. Voice, lower tone, slower pace, more pauses. Finishes sentence regardless, will not be talked over, fewer words. Gestures, deliberate, expansive, few. Eye contact, steady, slow blink rate. Slow shifts in gaze, moves freely around. Uncertain or resistant indicators, breathing, shallow, rapid, or held. Posture, leaning back, crossed arms, closed body language, fidgeting. Voice, higher pitch, faster pace, questioning inflection. Interrupts self, partial sentences, allows self to be talked over, many words when few would do. Gestures, protective, closed, minimal, tight, and fast. Interrupted gestures. Eye contact, rapid blink rate, fast shifting, unable to make eye contact, fixed or locked on one point. Now, a prospect can be confident that your pitch is awesome or confident that your pitch is BS and unhurried in his or her objections, or he can be genuinely uncertain and uncomfortable being on a pitch with you. So don't think that confident is always good for you and uncertain is always bad for you. The prospect's uncertainty can be good for you and the prospect's confidence can be bad for you. It just depends. And that is why we have to talk about state direction and state content. Confident can mean they're confident in you, they're moving towards you. They're confident in their objection, they're moving away from you, or they're confident in their ability to leave, which we call detached resistance. By the way, you should reverse engineer this to master your own state. You should always be confident in yourself, confident in your product, and confident in your pipeline abundance, which is detached engagement. Uncertain can mean they're uncertain about your offer, they need more info, they're uncertain about their decision-making skills, they need reassurance, and they're uncertain about whether to trust you. They need more comfort, trust, and connection. So what you need to calibrate is their current state, whether they're confident or uncertain, the direction of their state, which is either towards you or away from you, generally, and the content deriving that state, what specifically they're confident or uncertain about. So let's say you're pitching a guy who's in a confident state, but he's rejecting your offer with high skepticism. Now, what state would you need to induce to create an opening? You're going to need to run what's called a pattern interrupt. You're going to deploy dense technical information that breaks his confidence. You're going to begin peppering him with nuanced questions that he won't be able to answer. This reveals his ignorance or lack of expertise and pierces his self-perceived bubble of invincibility. If this works, his voice will waver, he'll switch to a questioning tone, or straight up admit he doesn't know, he'll lead forward, shift to more open body posture. Then, if you see those signs, you're going to deploy a burst of humility or self-deprecating humor from your side to lower his ego defenses. And this builds a mini rapport bridge between you and him that you can help him cross over by revealing more technical information that will help him do a little bit of coaching, consulting, teaching in that moment with the tonality of I'm helping you. That's further going to cement your authority. This should result in him starting to follow your leadership. He stays in the certain state, but instead of being certain in his objection, now he'll start building certainty in you as a leader and your products and services. This is a pattern interrupt, followed by confusion, followed by authority transfer, followed by state installation. You're not changing anything in his personality. You're redirecting his dominant pattern of certainty and confidence towards a new source, which is you. Hopefully that makes sense. State transfer is always more powerful than state change. The real key here is you're not trying to necessarily change people's states. You're trying to jujitsu and use their states for your advantage and get the energy moving in your direction. To take this a further step, let's go advanced. Here's what you might encounter when you start deploying a technical pattern interrupt, as I recommended above. And very few people are going to see this information. Very few people are going to watch till the end of this video. So if you're still watching, give yourself a pat on the back. You're going to get a special prize, which is down below this video. You can go ahead and hit the link and get this entire document, this entire technical breakdown in your inbox completely for free. I will give that to you because you are a dedicated soon-to-be master of your craft. So let's say you start doing this pattern interrupt and you're deploying this dense technical information to get him to reveal his ignorance. He might come back and interrupt your interrupt by saying, I don't need to understand all the details. I just need to know if it works. To which you reply, and again, this is a more sophisticated prospect. People are going to come and fence with you on this. You have to be ready to punch and counterpunch. You're going to reply, of course it works. The question, John, is just whether you're the type of person who can implement what works, or if you're maybe looking for something that works despite you not implementing it properly. So notice what I've done there. I've completely reversed the frame in his interruption, and I put the onus back on him. Let's break it down. Then you're going to stack testimonials with specificity to really drive the point home. Look, I've got 47 case studies here, but before I show you those, let me ask you, what would convince you specifically? I don't want to waste your time with irrelevant proof. And then you could throw in a qualification reversal. Look, ultimately, John, here's what I need to know. Are you someone who moves when they see evidence, or are you someone who always is trying to reach that level of 100% certainty before their act? Because I'm going to work differently with different types of people. And tonality is everything when you're delivering these lines. This line can stand on its own. It's going to be devastatingly effective and put him on his back foot. Then after he goes, you're going to throw in, look, I can definitely show you that it works, John, but before I show you, let me just ask you, what would you consider ironclad proof? So I can show you the right testimonial. And again, the point of your delivery and tonality is not to make them feel stupid. You want to make them feel like they're asking the right question, but that it's missing the point. So you want to redirect to the different points. And then this is a third level that you would only deploy if he still pushes back after you show him a video testimonial. If he's still not sold, then you're going to do the qualification reversal. So here's your checklist. Status elevation through implied obviousness, that is the first rebuttal. Social proof stacking, that is the 47 case studies. Commitment escalation, does that work for you? And then counter detachment is the qualification reversal down here, making them qualify, because I work differently with different types of people. And here you're heavily implying that someone who needs to be 100% certain before their act is of a lower quality person or lower intelligence than someone who can act on imperfect information. Because I think we all know people that wait to get 100% certainty before they act just never act, because there's no such thing as 100% certainty in this world. Again, the goal isn't to make them feel stupid, but make them feel like they're asking the right questions, but missing the real issue. So it's been a long video packed with juicy information. I hope you guys realize we covered how to ensure you're always in the most powerful possible state, how to transfer your state to the prospect, how to handle confident pushback at several levels of difficulty, and how to handle unfocused, scattered prospects. If you want me to install these exact skills into your current sales team so your sales reps can crush 82% conversion over a 19-month period, completely done for you, then click the first link in the description down below. If you click the second link, I'll give you this whole technical document. You can read through it at your leisure. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.